Hey there, is there somebody else on?
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Katie.
How are you?
Hi, Katie.
Good.
Hi, Katie.
How are you?
I'm great.
I think there's somebody else on.
Hello, this is Rich.
Yes. Hi, Rich.
Hey.
Hi, Katie. This is Sean.
Hi, Sean.
Hello. How you doing,
Hi.
Sean?
Not bad. How are you?
Hey, Katie. It's Bishoy from
Hello.
Florida Tech.
Hi, Bishoy.
Hey, how are you, Katie? I got Jennifer Schlegel as well from Florida Tech.
Excellent. Nice to meet you virtually.
Jen, you are on mute.
Hi, thanks. You know, I am. If you heard the dog bark, you would know why.
Oh. Fair. It's nothing we're not used to. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Jen, it's really nice to meet you. Bishoy gave us a nice email introduction that you're new to FIT, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Very exciting. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. This is our monthly UI Fresh working meeting, and we have decided to take the opportunity with it, just being early December and everybody hitting the ground running into finals week if they're not over just yet, to sort of turn this into an informational session and have everybody. We've invited a few special guests to talk about the activity that they're doing on campus so that everybody that is joining us today that we've asked to come can hear firsthand from some of the campuses that are working directly on this UI Fresh initiative. My name is Katie. Let me introduce myself first. I work with the University Innovation Fellows Program, and my colleague KD Maynard, who is also on the line, works with the Pathways to Innovation program. I know, funny that the two of us are working together on an initiative with the same name, but it's working out. And we both work for the Epicenter, which is the National Center for Engineering Pathways to Innovation, and that is a partnership between Stanford University and VentureWell. So what is this thing that we call UI Fresh? Well, UI Fresh is short for University Innovation Freshmen, and it is this national initiative that was started by the fellows back in March of 2015 in correlation with the 5th White House Science Fair and in response to a PCAST report that was entitled Engage to Excel. And the thing that struck us about this report was that it states that 60% of U.S. college freshmen intending to major in STEM in college don't. And so last March, with 10 schools from across the country, they all hopped on board to sign letters of commitment to President Obama in order to decrease STEM attrition at their school. And so this initiative initially was designed to engage freshman students in orientation activities, weeks of welcome through creativity, design thinking, and other hands-on activities that were short and fun and would sort of enlighten them and help them understand the applicability, of a STEM degree early on in their college career. And by partnering with Pathways to Innovation, we have doubled that number of schools committed to this initiative to 20 this past August, which we are extremely excited about. And we've also broadened the scope to be more inclusive of the entire freshman experience, all the way from orientation to series of workshops to courses, and you'll hear many different examples of what that looks like today. But really, the goal remains the same. And UI Fresh is a goal to collectively reduce the national percentage of STEM attrition by half in 5 years. And so that's why we've asked all of you here today is to keep up this excitement and the momentum so that you can learn more about UI Fresh, enhance the freshman experience at your school and also gain national recognition and a working group of peers across the country that are working towards the same goal. So for our guests today that I have asked to share their stories, we have Bishoy from FIT, we have Sean from Union College, and we also have Kurt Patterson on the line from James Madison. So Bishoy, if you want to, I guess I'll have the three of you introduce yourselves briefly first, and then I'll let Bishoy and then Sean and then Kurt go, and I'll just ask you to give a brief description of the activity that you're all seeing on campus.
You want me to go up first, Katie?
That would be great.
Okay, sure. So my name's Bishoy Marcos. I'm a assistant professor in mechanical and aerospace engineering at Florida Institute of Technology. We've been a partner institute with VentureWell. We're also a 2015 Pathways cohort group, which has done great things for us. And we have a leadership circle with our UIF group. We've applied for another circle. And we have a small cohort group with our UI Fresh program as well. Katie, do you want me to talk about specifically what, the orientation? I know I've talked about it before.
Yeah, the orientation activity you did, the video you made, sort of how you got started and who you got involved to get this off the ground.
Sure. So one of the things we wanted to do, and just like Katie echoed earlier, was we wanted to enhance our freshman experience, specifically when, if we felt that if we get them early on, we want something that was going to be long-lasting, impactful, and going to resonate with them throughout their 4 years at the university. So one of the big tasks we wanted to tackle was to really reframe how we do orientation at Florida Tech. Specifically, we wanted to identify if we can enhance our orientation experience to incorporate entrepreneurship and innovation. And what I mean by that is we wanted the students to realize and identify what all the resources, innovation, entrepreneurship resources on campus were, so they can be aware of their availability to them and how they can use them both within and outside of the classroom. So the big goal for us was, we do a lot with innovation, a lot with entrepreneurship, but it doesn't really help us if students recognize it their 4th year here, right? And it's maybe a bit too late, as a matter of fact. So how do we expose students to this early on in a way that resonates with them so they come back, right? So what we did was we developed a orientation program. So we took our orientation schedule. We managed to squeeze ourselves in on a Friday night, not the best time, but it was what was available. And from 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Friday, you'd envision the first Friday of their collegiate tenure. What better way to spend it than to come to another seminar, right? So what we did during this time was they came in. We introduced the students to really what we were doing, what the purpose of this meeting was. We talked to them about everything, how we want them to become entrepreneurial, how we want them to become innovative, and how the U.S. and the president and has recognized the need for this. Even as you watch the presidential debates, you hear this being brought up a lot, right? The future workforce and how it needs to understand innovation. Really, innovation is kind of what we're anchored by, right, in the United States. So we're talking about how we were going to give them plenty of opportunities to do this on campus, and we wanted to expose them to those opportunities, and we were going to find a fun and creative way to do it. So we told the students to team up in groups. We have 4 engineers and 1 business major per group, and we sent them out, and we said, here's a list of locations. You have to go and take a picture of you at each location, so take a selfie at each location, and you're going to post it on Twitter. And there are 9 locations around campus, like makerspaces, machine shops, senior design center, business incubator, and so on. Really anything that you could relate innovation and entrepreneurship to. And the team that gets the most retweets won the whole group won individual gift cards to the bookstore. So we did that, so that we set the students out. They went and found the spots, and every spot had different things. Like if you went to the makerspace, they had little 3D printed keychains for them, right? You go to the machine shop, they had like little machine pins for them to take away with them, just just as a little parting gift, I guess. And so they went around, they toured all the spots, they came back. We posted on the big screens who the winners were, and they got gift cards, and it was a fun experience. We had about 800 incoming engineering students that were coming into Florida Tech during 2015. We had 307 students show up to the event. So pretty good for kind of off the books, so to speak, right? So what we're hoping for next year is formally in the books, on their schedule. But yeah, it was it was a great success. I thought, we're seeing numbers increase in participation in all the places they visited. So I think we're seeing the fruits of our efforts there. And we made a cool video. There we go.
Yes, a very cool video, and you can find it on YouTube. I'll actually post the link in the chat in a minute, and I'll find that and share it. Thank you so much. I guess I'll mention that I'm going to ask everyone that's on the line to save questions for the end. And I also noticed that Keaton from the University of Virginia also joined us. So after Kurt and Sean go, I'm also going to ask him to say a little bit about what they're doing at UVA, so that you guys get a very well-rounded sense of what different activities can happen on your campus that still engage freshmen. So Sean, do you want to take it away?
Yes, hello everyone. First off, I'd like to say I'm sorry that I don't have access to a camera right now, but my name is Sean Farrell. I'm a junior mechanical engineering student at Union College in Schenectady, New York. It's a small liberal arts college with a pretty good focus on engineering. And I'd like to talk about a few things we have done so far in terms of the UI Fresh initiative. This past fall term, so Union is based on a trimester schedule, so we have fall, winter, and spring term. So during freshman orientation in the fall, we set up a STEM event. So we have every freshman sign the honor code, and then we had them file around to view our little setup that we had. So we had posters from previous projects, STEM related projects. We also had students to talk about those posters, talk about why they value STEM so much. And we also had a 3D printer, and you can only imagine all of the students flocked over to that. But it was, what I thought of when starting this event was that UI Fresh should be very subtle and gradual. There are a lot of things on the minds of freshmen, and we don't want to bombard them with the STEM initiative. This is why you need to take STEM courses. STEM is the only way. They have much more on their minds, but we know that this is very important, and if we do it subtly and gradually, I think we'll work out pretty well. And this orientation kickoff event went really well, actually. So we will definitely implement this in the future. I'd also like to talk about Union College's Maker Core. This is my work study at Union College. It's a 3D printing lab. We have about 10 3D printers, and basically we act as a little self-sustained business. Very interdisciplinary. So professors and students will actually come to us and tell us what they want, and we will design what they want and actually and print out the designs. So this relates to what many people call the entrepreneurial mindset. It's the notion of thinking of issues that need to be solved, working on the design process to solve those issues, and then actually implementing a solution. And this 3D printing lab really reflects that. So I think that this Maker Core of Union College is a perfect way to amalgamate the liberal arts and STEM ideas. So we are currently, actually I'm on break right now. I've been on break since a couple of days before Thanksgiving, but we're in the process of getting more and more freshmen involved in this, because it is a great way to understand the ideas behind STEM and liberal arts and how they can combine together to create some great things on campus. And the last thing I'd like to talk about, this is a new initiative that we will implement next fall. It's called a Minerva course, and at Union College, these are courses that are that have very large class size. For Union College, 150 students in a class is very, very large. And they're based on one solid idea. So the current one, the one that was this past fall, was based on inequality. And years past, there was one on big oil. So I think you get the idea. It's just a comprehensive, generalized course, and with a large class size, and very interdisciplinary as well. So this one that I have created along with my advisors is going to be called ICE, Innovation, Creativity, and the Entrepreneurial Mindset. So it's going to be taught on those three things. And I think the entrepreneurial mindset, as I stated earlier, is very key pertaining to STEM retention, because it teaches students how to recognize a problem, design the solution, and implement the solution. In years past, freshmen weren't really allowed to attend these big Minerva courses. Administration thought that they needed some more time at Union College taking other courses before they entered these ones. But we have worked with administration to actually allow freshmen to take this course, because we think that it is imperative for kids who are on the borderline. Should I keep with STEM, or should I move on to art? Well, I think this course will open up their minds to see that STEM is much more than long problem sets and SolidWorks and other such things. STEM is at the heart of liberal arts, in my opinion. So I hope that we can make the Minerva course a success.
Great. Thank you so much, Sean. Kurt, you're next.
Good afternoon. I'm Kurt Patterson. I'm the head of the engineering program at James Madison. Our program is relatively new. We're starting our 8th year, and so we have rapidly increasing student body, but there's still a minority. So there's about 20,000 students at JMU. The engineering program is approaching 500 students, but we sort of sized up this opportunity as a way to make sure that many of these desirable outcomes on retention and recruitment are part of this, certainly. But for us, it was all about establishing this culture of inclusion, and one that's mapped very clearly to our culture of innovation through design. So the program is built start to finish as a design-oriented engineering program. It's project-based learning. And so our freshmen begin their first project in their first week with us. And so I want to walk you through a handful of really, they're really events and opportunities to nudge the culture in a certain way, but more explicitly kind of demonstrate to the participants of our program what the culture is all about. And so let me roll back to August at orientation. Orientation is a 3-day event at JMU. By and large, the academic units have nothing to do with it. We wanted to make sure our engineering students understood that they were about to be a part of an academic environment, really a subculture within the university that is quite different than what many of their peers were going to be a part of. And so we thought, why not create a bridging event? We called it the Madison Engineering Launch. We positioned it similarly to Bashoy's comment. Those orientation weeks are jam-packed, and there was really no landscape for us to operate. So we actually carved out Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to noon. And so we have 173 first-year students. We had about 90% attendance. And again, it was kind of off the books. We came up with it in the middle part of the summer. started informing the students that we hope they'd be joining us, and we're delighted by the attendance and participation. This event, the launch event, was really structured. We knew it was Saturday morning, so we actually intentionally had it outdoors in a courtyard by our building. It was designed for very, very active participation. 3 topics, and each one of them was motivated by a sort of scripted learning by playing kind of event. The 3 topics were things that were critical to really their first year experience, and were kind of themes that we wanted to set in motion on this Saturday, because they're going to be hearing them throughout the first year experience. They were awareness, being aware as an engineer for opportunities to craft solutions for, communication, and teamwork. And so these 3 games, each one of them focused on one of those topics, very well received, kept them on their feet, and had this element of fun that none of these lessons were overt. It was really meant to establish a sense of community with our students as quickly as we could. That event then wrapped up with the last hour. We went inside to a large room and took them through a bit of a community building activity where we asked people to get in a big circle and step forward if a certain question pertained to them. For example, did they have a mother who was an engineer or something like that? It was a way to look around the community and see that there was no one particular profile of engineering student. This is really meant to be an inclusive environment for anybody who's motivated to study engineering. So that's event number 1. That was in the late August period. The second event that we crafted and just did for our first time as well was in early November. We called it the Madison Engineering Cafe, Scholars Cafe. And this was intended to expose our students really across our program, but intentionally we recruited first-year students to this as well on scholarly opportunities, engage in research. As undergraduate-only program, all of our research is done with undergraduate research assistants. We thought, let's plant the seed in the minds of our first-year students so that they understand those opportunities are there. And the way we crafted this was virtually no talk from the faculty. We got 8 of our undergrads who are engaged in various scholarly opportunities, and they gave sort of rapid-fire elevator pitches, really a 2-minute sort of summary with 2 photos or images. They went back to back to back, and then they distributed across 8 tables. And this was an evening event from 6 to 9. We had at each of these tables a different course for the dinner meal. And so then the students who attended would rotate every 15 minutes to one of these tables. They would have an extended conversation with the student who had done the research opportunity, but then also get access to one of the courses of a dinner meal. So it was kind of a neat way to tie the 2 together. And for that, we had about 40 students in attendance. The one that we just wrapped up last night actually was embedded into the very first class we have in our curriculum. It's Engineering 101 by the course number, but it's called Engineering Opportunities. It's really meant to sensitize the engineers to the fact that there are opportunities to do good in the world. And so one thing that we have as a standing feature of this class, it's the second time we've offered it, is a month-long project. I mentioned that our students start in week 1 with their first project, but that's only a 48-hour project. Then they build to a 2-week-long project, and then the last month is a month-long project. And last year we realized, let's couple it to some sort of world event. And by doing that, we kind of up the awareness factor. That is, as engineers, we often benefit from being aware of what's happening. Some of those things could lend to an opportunity to do some good through engineering solutions. So this topic this year was the Syrian refugee crisis. It was a way that the students began to link some of their gen ed topics as well. That's a secondary benefit. But they did the deep dive as best they could to understand the refugee crisis, and then come up with one, usually small, solution, we'll call it, some way to improve somebody's lives that are connected to that crisis. And so last night they just gave the presentations. We selected, there was kind of a crowd choice for one of the best. And then we had a panel of judges. A couple of alumni came back. We had a couple of the sophomores who were in the class last year that were the winners last year, and then a few faculty from outside that had kind of a diverse array of perspectives on the crisis. And then let me forward past the spring. There, at the end of the year, this the third Saturday of April for us, is our standing tradition called the Madison Engineering Exchange. Because our curriculum is project-based, all of our students have a significant project they're working on. The freshmen in the spring semester will have a semester-long project. All of them have a community partner, and so they'll be trying to deliver some real project solution to their community partner. At the exchange, they'll set up right next to the sophomores, the juniors, and the seniors, their prototypes, posters, and it's an all-day kind of event where we have this open up to the public and bring alumni and industry back. So that's kind of the full sweep of the event landscape, and with one class integration there of what the freshmen are really being engaged in terms of innovation. But it's really to help them in this transition to being engineering students, hopefully with a higher level of success.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing, Kurt. Keaton, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
There you are. Yes, I can. Take it away.
All right, cool. So I got involved with UI Fresh last year through Ben Matthews, who is the UIF fellow for that year. And then I went through the training this past semester. So what we've done here at UVA is we spent some time last spring actually creating pop-up luncheons that were just a very informal way to gather members of the innovation community, particularly on the student end. So we just send invites out to everyone who we thought might be even remotely interested, people enrolled in 3D printing classes, people who are members of the local student entrepreneurship group, engineering students without borders, and more. And that was actually a really cool way to just start to have some real organic conversation. In the spring, we had 2 of those, and then we had one working group before the spring semester ended, and those produced several really great ideas that we moved forward on, one of which was particularly orientation, proposing an idea for orientation, which we're still developing. It hasn't come to fruition yet, but basically proposing some sort of design challenge within the summer orientation program that UVA runs. And so that would be in the summer as students are coming in. And then the other one with regards to UI Fresh was a idea for innovation tours. So there's a very powerful presence on UVA grounds for what are called U Guides, and they're a very popular group, and it's very hard to get into this club, and they run these high quality tours for UVA grounds. And what we were suggesting is basically kind of flipping that model on its head and having kind of like a very different culture to what we were potentially calling iGuides. It's kind of a satirical thing, and basically starting off by meeting it on the UVA lawn and debunking some common myths about entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial thinking. So, naturally we'd ask some questions to prompt, like, what do you think of when you think about entrepreneurship? And then people are going to say, Steve Jobs and money and all this other stuff. And we're going to talk about innovation and how that can be seen as how E.E. Cummings was an innovator in poetry, and how you can really break new ground in all different fields, and what that actually looks like, the process of bringing an idea to life. And basically we'll give a little bit of an overview there, and then the plan was to basically have a list of all the different innovation like physical places on the ground for innovation. So we've got I think 4 or 5 different maker spaces in different groups. We've got a really great fabrication lab within the architecture school that has laser cutters and all these other different things. We've got pockets all over the place. And what we would say is, these are all the options. Which ones are you as a tour group interested in going to? And so based off of their interests, we'd actually have them kind of design their own tour. And along the way, we'd be continuing to try to have a little bit of a different culture in how we run that. So it wouldn't be like the formal, I know everything about the University of Virginia, I'm a University of Virginia guide who is going to tell you lots of information at your face, but rather, what are you interested in? And I can share about something about innovation, how that connects. So those were the two main things for UI Fresh that we had proposed. They're still not completely enacted because unfortunately we had some change in structure within the student council at the university as we were starting to try to create a collaboration there. So there was an entrepreneurship and innovation committee that has since changed and gone a lot of different directions. So that's kind of went a different way, but we're considering regrouping in the spring to talk about for next year. So.
Great. Thank you so much, Keaton. So I hope that everyone that's joining us today has gotten a lot of information out of the 4 campuses that just spoke, because UI Fresh really does take on whatever your campus needs to engage and enhance the freshman experience, from pop-up events to courses and dinners to scavenger hunts to utilizing spaces and tours, all the way to engaging students while they're waiting in line to sign their honor code. And it's really about how you think about your campus and the resources that you have, and how you can engage freshmen in what they're already participating in. So now I want to open it up to questions to our guests that are joining us. If you guys want to pop your name into the chat box, so that way we can go in a somewhat of an order, and we don't talk over one another. Is there anybody that has questions? So we have a question from Ian Grant that says, I hear this is all driven by students and or faculty. Are there models of co-curricular? Do you want to unmute yourself, Ian, and maybe clarify on that question a little bit?
Sure. I'm coming from the University of New Hampshire, actually all of a week and a half on board as the director of the newly established Entrepreneurship Center. So obviously we sit in the middle of campus and we don't have any ties academically, so there's no dean responsible as the center. So as I'm starting to look at opportunities, I'm trying to understand where are there any models for on a co-curricular basis to be able to sort of engage this. All likelihood of sort of have to be in partnership with faculty and students. I see merits of both in just sort of listening to sort of the 3 or 4 presentations, but I didn't know if anyone had co-curricular experience.
I think Keaton said he had some examples he'd love to share.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Cool. So I had a very particular example within a faculty member by the name of David Tuvey, who runs the Gallant Center for Entrepreneurship here at the university. Professor Tuvey is probably one of the most approachable people I know, and I took his class and have stayed in contact and gotten to know him fairly well over the past year and a half of being involved in entrepreneurship and innovation here at UVA. But one of the co-curricular models that we've been working on is actually talking about ways that we can actually reach students where they are. What's a really cool model of this is the actual building that I'm in right now is called Hack Seville. And this is a student entrepreneurship clubhouse, and in some respects, an alternative school of sorts that is educating university students on, or empowering them to really take charge of their own education and learn about digital media and all these other innovative things. So what the interaction with Professor Tuvey has been is he actually comes here once a week for office hours, which is basically just him. He calls them venture hours for anyone who has a project idea that they're working on. And because his class is also the first class in the entrepreneurship minor that UVA has recently released, his students, which are targeted to be second years, so not in their first year, but the second year will have that access to and know where that they can find like students and faculty coming together and working on creative projects. Additionally, in the first year, Professor Tuvey, as well as Christine Mahoney and the Batten School of Social Entrepreneurship, or Christine Mahoney with Social Entrepreneurship at UVA and several other faculty members came together to create an entrepreneurship kickoff event for everyone, but it was actually targeted towards first years who weren't aware of what was going on in the entrepreneurship scene and how that was co-curricular. Is we actually had an opportunity for each of the student groups on grounds to present our give a pitch on what we do, and then we had a kind of like science fair display outside where we had more information about our organizations, and then the faculty handled a lot of the organizing for promoting it and pushing it out to all the different schools and listservs. And so that was just one particular event, and then that combined with 2V's Venture Hours, I think are two pretty cool joint models.
Thank you very much.
I'll just add that most of the events that I talked about are co-curricular, but we're pulling something a little bit clever off that capitalizes on the way our curriculum is crafted, and that is because it's project-based. We can link the two in a way that in some of the, in many of these classes, the students are doing innovation projects already, design usually, and it effectively provides both the works that are shared at these events, and then also kind of scales very quickly because our students are fully engaged with projects every semester. Kind of have that critical mass in terms of percentage already embedded in the project. We are kind of giving them a platform for expression, so to speak, and a platform for doing that in a public way. Kind of builds community very quickly, as we've learned. So there's that. I wanted to also mention, I kind of thought I heard in the question not only the co-curricular piece, but maybe stepping away from this always being a faculty kind of led approach. And I will say one important detail to particularly that launch event I spoke to. We have a engineering leadership program, and while there are no first-year students in that, they provide this really critical operational force, really. So at the launch, it would not have been nearly as rich if we did not have 20 of these engineering leadership students show up as well, volunteering their time to really help make that event fly. The nature of the games, for example, the 150-ish freshmen, they were split into small teams, each one with one of these junior or senior engineering leaders, or often a pair of them, working with these smaller cohorts. And that kind of continues in through our Engineering 101 class. Those leaders are embedded in that. We have this vertical integration, and we're thinking through more opportunities like that. The exchange, I'll mention, part of the design and execution of that is through a student advisory board. If I think most universities have students who are full of energy and want to do something, sometimes you could bridge them into a few of these co-curricular opportunities to do some critical thinking on how to make them even better in design, and then certainly be in a position to help execute so many of the details that end up being a pretty tall ask if it's a couple faculty in the department will burn out.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I would also say that coming from this sort of neutral department or entity as a center on campus sort of puts you in a good, I would see it as an opportunity, because one of the meetings we had last month was around how to engage with the orientation officers and the people that are organizing and running these events. And so from their perspective, they're wanting to host events that are engaging all freshmen on campus. And so if you're sort of this neutral space that's coming and just saying that you want to host sort of an innovative or entrepreneurial design thinking event, you might be able to spin that and use that to your advantage and get students and faculty from across disciplines and across departments to also get involved and help you facilitate something like that.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
Yep. Do we have any other questions? Okay.
Katie, I'll jump in if there aren't any other questions. I have a couple things I wanted to just mention.
Sure.
So I'm so impressed. I mean, you guys are doing fabulous things, and this is very exciting. Before I came to Pathways, I was working in higher ed and doing advising and working in the orientation world and so on. And as many of you may be aware, if you look at the literature that's out there in terms of retention, the biggest factor that comes up over and over again, Vincent Tinto is the big name here, but it's repeated over and over again, study after study. Students need to feel a sense of belonging and connection where they are in order to persist, in order to be retained. And, you know, none of you guys directly mentioned the whole thing of a first-year student who's arriving on campus and feeling a little bit lost and a little bit insecure and a little bit self-conscious. They are in contact with other students, upper-class students, as well as their peers. They're in contact with faculty. It breaks down the barriers and gives them a real sense of feeling belonging. So that's huge. And I think anything that's done to formally or informally put new students in contact with upper-class students is only going to help your retention. It's only going to help students feel that sense of belonging and connection. So it was very exciting to hear the work you're doing and to see that this is a byproduct that you aren't even necessarily directly planning for or addressing, but you're achieving it. So kudos to all of you on that. And I think one of the other things that I was hearing with several of you that I think is phenomenally exciting is breaking down the silos, breaking down the barriers between disciplines, between departments, really making it inclusive. And I think that's one of the things in my last work at a large university, I was working with undeclared students, and a number of them came in undeclared, perhaps because they didn't get into the business program or engineering program they wanted. But we also dealt with undeclared students who were frankly kind of feeling like they were either bombing out or disinterested by the program that they were currently in. And a lot of those were STEM students. A lot of those were engineering students. And again, I think for some of them, they just didn't feel connected to another human being and to anybody who heard them and understood them and kind of looked and felt like them. But I think there also were a number of students who wanted to combine areas. I want to do theater and engineering. I want to do solar energy. And, you know, they had these great ideas that they felt were being squeezed out if they got caught up in a particular discipline that didn't want to talk about anything else. So I think all of your efforts to promote inclusivity academically as well as interpersonally, those are all, they have real good payoff. So I think that's just incredibly, incredibly exciting work to be doing. And I think one last thing that I would bring up is, have any of you noticed, thinking about that sense of connection and belonging, have you noticed or measured anything in terms of students having relationships with people, as in going to office hours, as in, you know, being more confident about approaching a professor or approaching even a peer or an upper class student for assistance? Have you seen any changes there, or have any of you looked at those stats?
Let me add, for us, it's a work in progress in terms of real data and evidence I could offer. I will let you know that we are pursuing that. JMU is a pretty proud culture of assessment, so it's not lost on us, and we're certainly interested in having some evidence behind those questions. I will say, share an anecdote. One of the faculty that is involved in the first year experience shared. I mentioned that this Engineering 101 class where the students were working on the Syrian refugee design opportunity, they shared a comment from, again, the arrangement is that class is, we have all of our freshmen together for community building, but they're then split into groups of 10 roughly. And each of those groups of 10 is led by 2 of our engineering leadership students. So these are usually, they're always juniors or seniors, often seniors. And so they have that contact, but that formal contact is really the fall semester. Then in the spring, the freshmen go off to our conventionally capped classes. 25 students is the maximum class size in our program. And so they're in sort of the next class in their freshman experience. They don't have that connection, that formal connection with the leaders. But the story I'm referring to from the faculty yesterday was 2 photos that one of the leaders sent last spring. The first photo was in that fall semester, that the photo was of the 2 senior leaders at a meeting with the freshman group that they mentor. Then they sent a photo from the spring, which was a photo of all the same students, the 2 seniors and this freshman group, that they had gathered for dinner at the house of one of the seniors, right? So the story is that there was no expectation for that relationship to continue, but somehow that flourished, right? That there was a comfort that is, at least from my experience, highly unusual. Usually, that freshman to senior gulf is pretty big, and there's not a lot of connection. So somehow that suggests some of the things that you're hinting at are happening. It'll just take some time to catch up with the harder work of analyzing data.
That's really exciting, and I think I can't remember which school it was. It was at a UI Fresh meeting earlier this fall. Somebody mentioned just a very quick and dirty assessment that they did at the beginning and end of one of these fall orientation programs of how many people in the engineering program do you know at the beginning, and an hour later or 2 hours later or whatever, how many people do you know by name now?
Yeah, that was us.
Was that you?
Yeah, it was. And so,
brilliant.
Yeah, well,
great.
We'll have the data. They're going to do it one more time, which is it'll be next Monday. Will be the last sort of end of semester then ping with that same question. So we'll have some analysis of that in a few weeks, I hope.
I think that's terrific. And actually, one of the things we're doing within Pathways right now is trying to get a handle on social networking mapping and understanding just how much being in contact with colleagues from other institutions who are doing parallel work, how much that influences, expands, and helps develop one's work on campus. And so I think, there aren't a lot of easy models out there in terms of a rubric or how to measure this, but I think it's a phenomenally important thing to be looking at. And I just love that. I love that example of how to just start to capture it, start to think about it.
Those were all great comments. I have one question for our 4 schools that came to talk to us this afternoon. I know that, once we get you into this initiative, it's always like, okay, we signed on, and what happens now? Well, we do have a running monthly meeting. It happens the second Tuesday of every month at 4 p.m. And this is one of them. This is our 3rd one with this large group. And so what we do, the first one was just a check-in of everybody to come and talk about what their orientation schedules were like and the ideas that they had for the events that they wanted to run. And the second one we really tailored last month in November towards how to engage with your orientation organizers and thinking about how to get yourself a good slot. And so we really do try to listen and really hear what you guys are saying and what your struggles are so that we can tailor these monthly meetings so that they are productive for you and that they create value. So if I could be so forthright and ask from our 4 campuses that are here, what is it about your experience with UI Fresh that has helped benefit what you've done on campus, and or why sign on to a national initiative? Why not just go it alone at your own campus?
Katie, can I jump in?
Absolutely.
Well, one of the things that we've found really beneficial with networking with the other partner universities is not to have a dog over your shoulder, but to sorry, my husband's out of town. I had to rush home to let that out. um, so essentially, letting us know what works on other campuses and other strategies of what people have used their program for. That's actually the most that I find to be most beneficial. So the exchange of ideas, what's worked, what your experience was from those items. So hearing how people did orientation a little differently was interesting, and what worked for them is where I think we get the benefit.
Thank you.
I agree. I'll second that. I think it's important to see what others are doing, specifically others with similar academic landscapes. It's good to see what may work here may not work at other places, and vice versa, and that's okay. You just want to make sure we have some sort of external validation for what we're doing by looking at what others are doing. And I think this isn't an institutional challenge, it's a national challenge that we advance STEM education around the country. So the best way to do that is to communicate with one another, and frankly, if we don't, it's a disservice to the future of engineering.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel as though STEM retention is one of the more profound issues pertaining to education in the country we face today. So I just want to say thank you for providing some insight during this meeting. I took a lot away from it. So.
And I would just add, obviously, the national network is fantastic to build your ideas out. It's easy to come up with interesting things, but it's usually around the hallway, so to speak, and it's good to kind of reflect on those ideas that you create based on what you're hearing from other very inspired individuals. I will say that there's probably a secondary reason. I agree with Bishoy about that certainly the national scene is important. This is an issue that we I think do benefit for sort of strength in numbers. But I think I will mention this other piece, which is the persistence of the individuals who are doing these initiatives is absolutely critical. I mean, there's this delicate stage where these sort of movements are trying to sort of fly from the nest. I think one of the critical things is establishing this community of similarly interested, motivated individuals, so that those individual efforts at each of our campuses doesn't it needs every bit of nurturing they can get. So in one way you can get that sort of rejuvenation is to have a community of peers or colleagues around the country that are doing similar things. Can help you recharge and refocus, and that's absolutely critical if we want these individual initiatives to thrive and then collectively thrive.
Yeah, I'd love to just briefly add that I see it kind of in line with the research that was brought up earlier. I'm a student, and I know personally that this semester was rough for me, and I should have leaned towards the community of UIF a little bit stronger because I was trying to do a lot of innovating on my own, and it's hard, and it's not the best way to go about it, to be honest. I've been fortunate to be involved with some other related programs, particularly in the education space, with a group called 4.0 Schools, doing a similar locally grown but nationally connected group of individuals who are working on projects. And so that's been helpful for me. But I think that UIF is something that I'm looking forward to being more active in come spring, after I've gotten to attend the summit and things of that nature, and learn more about it, because I care so deeply about that. And know that for the personal work that I'm doing, I had some events fall through that really shut me down for a while, and I didn't do what I should have done, and just lean towards the community for that. So perhaps see me as why I should be more involved than the flip. So.
Great. Thank you so much. Those were all amazing answers. And I know one of the big reasons that I'm passionate about a freshman initiative is just because I always think, what if I knew then what I knew existed when I was halfway through my junior year, the community, the resources, where would my potential be? So that's one of the reasons that I'm big on this initiative. And we want to keep doing really good things for you guys and with freshmen across the country. So if anybody doesn't have any other questions, we're going to end on the hour. I'm going to put in the chat box, if you are interested in joining UI Fresh, please reach out to KD or myself. It is a form that you can fill out online, and then there's a letter of commitment that I will also share with you in the chat box. And we ask you to get as many signatures on that as possible, from the president down to the students. We have everywhere from 1 to 15 signatures on a lot of these letters that have come in from the last 20 campuses. So yeah, thank you all so much for your time. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to our 4 wonderful speakers that came here to share their stories with us today. And if that's it, I'm here for questions by email. And if not, I will see you all next month.
Thank you very much, Katie.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
You guys take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Hi, are you there?
Yeah, hello.
Hi, this is Katie with the University Innovation Fellows Program. Who am I talking to?
Yeah, this is Shravan from Kent State University.
Oh, hey, Shravan, how are you?
I'm fine, Katie. Sorry for the late coming, I was stuck in somewhere else and I thought meeting is going to start around 5 o'clock.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Yeah.
And you know what? It was recorded, so
It's
I will
recorded?
download.
Okay.
Yes, I will
Yeah.
download it and I will share it with you, and then you can
Please.
take it in on your own
Yeah,
time.
yeah, please. Thank you,
Okay.
Katie. Thank you so much. Have
Absolutely.
a great night.
You too.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.